The room. Hello, everybody. Come on in. We see you out there. Thanks for being here. And I'm going to knock this off, and it's just me today. This morning, Glenn says he'll be here in a second, but in the meantime, we get to talk a little bit about English comics, British comics, UK comics. It's all going to be a lot of fun, and that's part of what this show is all about, is to show off the stuff that we love, the stuff that's inspired us over the years, and the things that help keep us do the comics and the sequential art that we love doing. And growing up, I ran across these old English reprints back in the 70s. You know, there wasn't a whole lot of boys comics out there for the UK readers. So Marvel came in and they filled that gap quite a bit. And you're going to see me reaching over here today quite a bit because I've got a lot to show you. So what Marvel did is Marvel started up reprinting their stuff. Somebody just jumped into the chat here, and I'm moving stuff around. I thought I had it all coordinated at one point, but apparently not. Here we go. Come on in, Glenn.
Yep.
Yeah, we're live. Nobody else seems to want to be here and talk about this stuff, but you know, that's what I get for calling it.
I'm just going to start watching in about 50 minutes. So
5-0.
Oh yeah, I was watching the opening ceremony, but it's just a load of rubbish. So
I hear you.
So right. I thought I'd do an hour with you, seeing as nobody's with you.
Yeah, I thought Russ at least would join us today. I was kind of hoping he'd be here. 1975. This looks like Marvel started reprinting their material over in UK. The Titans.
Yep.
Nope.
Yeah, around that time. Yeah, with those odd shaped comics. Yeah.
Before that, what was around for comics over there?
Well, we've had the mainstay of the Beano and the Topper and the Dandy and those what I call cartoony comics. You know, we've had those forever. 75 was what, just a couple of years just before 2000 AD. Yeah. And all that sort of revolution that went on with Pat Mills and all those fantastic artists. You know them all.
Oh, we'll get there. We'll get there.
And
one step at a time. I'm looking for my Beano book right now. I got a Beano book. I don't know. Of course, being so coordinated here, I had everything in nice piles. You did have back in the 50s.
Yeah, I never really read Marvel Man. Never really got into that at all.
Marvel Man was raging because Captain Marvel was big. Captain Marvel was big all throughout the world.
Yeah.
And when DC National Periodicals sued Fawcett Publications, who was doing Billy Bats and Captain Marvel, they finally sued him. I need to just tilt everything up here on the side. That's what I need to do so I can see their spines. But when National Periodicals finally sued Fawcett for doing Captain Marvel, you see Wiz Comics right up above the rack here. That's Captain, the real Captain Marvel. When Fawcett decided to shut that character down, everybody else around the world wasn't ready for that. And they said, no, we still have huge readers. Hi, Mitch. How you doing?
Hi, Mitch.
I'm good. Good morning.
They said we still have huge readers, so they went and took the idea of Captain Marvel and did a lot of incarnations. There's a lot of different versions of Captain Marvel all throughout the world, and the big one in the UK was Marvel Man.
Right.
Well, so taking Captain Marvel and just, combining Captain Marvel and Superman together and making
Marvel I'd stopped reading comics by then anyway, but my mainstays with Trigon Empire and TV21 and those kind of things.
Oh yeah, we'll get there too.
Yeah.
Marvel Man, family's finest. These are Marvel Comics reprints that not a whole lot of people saw. I think I picked this up at a discount house or at a on sale from a retailer, but I saw it was a collection of great Marvel Man strips. And look at there, Marvel Man almost in the style of C.C. Beck right there.
Yeah.
Very minimalist.
Great. Yeah.
Great. Some would say hokey stories.
No, I think they're great. I think they are what they are, aren't they?
They are. They're exactly right. They are what they are. Look at that.
I think Alan Moore did like a really dark interpretation in the 80s.
He did, yeah.
He did. Yeah. He did. They brought that back as Miracle Man because they didn't want to step on Marvel's toes. So, and then eventually now I guess Marvel has come through and bought the rights for Marvel Man, which is why Marvel kicked out a bunch of reprints of that character. Nice volumes, hardback volumes. Hardly nobody saw them. Wonderful price of looks like $34.90, $35 cover price. Yay. That's a great way to get them. But then came your Century 21 books, right?
They were in the mid-60s, but that Marvel Man,
Marvel Man started in 53, 54, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about the Alan Moore thing, Miracle and all that.
Miracle Man.
In Crikey 11,
yeah,
we did this article.
Oh,
all about that.
Classic, iconic cover.
And this is Tony Ingram's, my editor at Comics Unlimited, and
let me blow that up here. Give me just a sec. There you go.
And he wrote a great cross examination of the whole thing. Really worth checking out that. But we used to get a lot of this guy Ken Reed, Frankie Stein, and all sorts of stuff. These were really great. And Wham and Smash and Pow, and used to offer Beano, I think, and Dandy, and all of the mainstays. But TV 21 was in the mid '60s.
Okay,
that came out in 1965, and
before that was the Dandy Beano, and the Beano. I've got a book here covering the first 50 years.
I think those first came out in the 30s.
Some pretty nice illustration work there.
Yeah, some great work.
It's got a great combination of characters. You can see a lot of comedy influence. Let me pop the dust jacket off of this so the book looks cleaner. This thing has been read, well loved. Let's put it that way. Look at the collection of characters inside the cover.
Yeah.
Morgan the Mighty, Willie Whiz.
Yeah.
What's
Billy
that?
Whiz.
Billy Whiz. Billy Whiz.
He was a kid who used to run fast. He was like the Flash, but he used to get into trouble and then run away. He was great.
Go. Corky the cat. That looks like a few underground, like Firkin the cat that we've seen.
Looks like Crumb, doesn't it?
Grandpa Dennis the Menace.
Yeah, and Little Plum.
Right there. Looks more like a Muppet than Dennis. Our version of Dennis the Menace.
Yeah. We've also, as by coincidence, in the same issue of Crikey, number 11, we have Ewan Kerr, who was one of the writers up at DC Thompson, Dennis the Menace. He retired. We did an interview with him. It's quite a landmark issue, this, actually, if I can just say, because this is the first 84-page in color, full color.
Okay.
And we covered a lot of stuff in it,
Cool.
Really is a good issue.
Yeah, there's
a lot of stuff.
This book I've got covers the first 50 years of the Beano, and it covers a lot of the different strips, a lot of the artists that were in it. It looked like a lot of fun. I haven't sat down and really read it cover to cover, but I have looked through it. It's got Corky.
See, we have that.
Corky the cat.
Yeah, Corky the cat.
There's Dennis the Menace.
This one here is
the UK Dennis the Menace.
Yeah, this is the first sort of vision of him. This is the later one, But it's an ongoing thing. It's still there, still going.
They said Dennis the Menace was kind of a simultaneous creation. The one in UK, one in America.
I think that was just a coincidence.
Yeah,
just a coincidence.
There's a lot of that in this business. It's a couple of keywords hit just right, or a song inspires people or whatever. Lord Snooty and his pals, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
Sorry to keep the camera on you.
That's all right. Lord Snooty. Yeah, Lord Snooty was great.
Couple of stuck-up kids.
Rolf Harris. Oof.
Pardon?
Rolf Harris.
Ralph Harris. Yeah.
He's just got out of jail.
For what?
Should we ask?
Taking advantage of people.
Grifting.
If that's what you call it.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Like Jimmy Savile.
Oh, that's bad. That's bad.
Yeah.
Dennis the Menace.
Yeah.
Great old humor stuff.
Isn't the British Dennis the Menace more of like an anti-hero than
Yes, he is.
a rambunctious kid?
Yeah, he's sort of out of control. Yeah, he's just a bad kid, really.
Look at that cover.
Yeah.
That'll give you a hint right there. He's about to bang somebody over the back of the head.
That's Desperate Dan. He eats cow pie.
That's what that is. Cow. It is cow pie.
It's got the horns on it. Yeah.
That probably has a whole different connotation over here in the States.
It does. It does. Yeah,
You're eating cow pies over
cows
here.
eat.
It's not a good thing.
No.
Yeah.
Also, Rocky Mountain oysters. Don't eat those.
Yeah, don't eat those either. Just some great fun stuff here. So
The format's changed now. It's like it's the way everything goes. The format for Beano and all that is it's very glossy magazine, very stylized.
Well,
now, I used to like the old stuff.
Talk about that. Talk about that for a second while I dig through my piles again.
Yeah, they did a revamp. I think it was probably in the aughts. They did a major revamp of the title and just changed the look of it. They changed the look of Dennis the Menace. They changed the look of a lot of things. And as I always say and get criticised for, I always say, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Amen.
I have the same opinion.
People say people have leveled to me that I don't like change, and that's not true. But if it's not going to make it better, why change it?
Yeah. It's like over here in the States in the 90s, DC did a huge blasphemy and changed Superman. I don't know if anyone remembers that.
Well, they tried.
Tried to.
Yeah.
They've tried to change Superman.
Did I see am I right in thinking I saw a drawing of Superman the other day and he looked like he had Spider-Man's costume on because he had red going down his arms?
There are a number of different incarnations now of Superman that they're trying to get out onto the market. A lot of different variations of the suit. They've got to protect their copyrights because here in the States, Superman's just a few, I would say about 10 years at most away from becoming public domain, the original Schuster and Siegel version of it. So you're seeing DC now go through and copyright all sorts of different versions of Superman.
Is that why
a lot of different outfits?
Is that why they changed Thor's costume at Marvel?
Not that I'm aware of, but there's been a lot of the rumors are that they're changing all of the characters around on purpose because of the way that the work for hire contract was written on the back of those checks.
Yeah.
Once that gets tested in court, which Marvel is trying to keep from happening desperately, once that gets tested in court, it's likely to be tossed. And then there's going to be a mad gold rush for rights from all of these creators' estates. Ditko's estate is already sued. Friedrich's estate tried to sue for Ghost Rider, and they chased Friedrich off, and they stomped him. They stomped him really hard. I mean, to the point where they threw him into the poorhouse, literally, because of their countersuits, because they're trying to keep that stuff from happening. And again, I love comics history, and it's part of the reason why I enjoy looking into it, is because the creators on this, the writers, the artists, and that were always treated as the lowest common denominator, the lowest cog in the machine, and they were always the most imaginative. They did the majority of the work, and it's
they were responsible for the appeal, weren't they?
They're very much so. It's really close to slave labor the way that they treated them.
But they do it with musicians as well, don't they?
Oh yeah. All the creative arts are like that. I was trying to find. I thought I had a couple of copies of the original 2000 ADs, but originally when comics were out over in England, when they were here in the States too, they were printed on the cheapest newsprint they could find, printed on the largest presses they could find.
Yeah.
It was not meant to be collected. They always looked at it as disposable entertainment, disposable reading material, very much like our TV guide or.
And just to keep the presses rolling as well.
Almost like a bubblegum wrapper as an afterthought. They only charged a dime for them for a reason, because it took them pennies to make it. And it took pennies more to pay the people that did it. I mean, we're talking about folks getting, what do you think Kirby got per page when he first started? $20, $30?
Yeah, I would imagine something like that.
I know that for the longest time, Harvey used to pay, and I mean by longest time, multiple decades, was $35 a completed page.
Complete. Wow.
And they'd have their creator go through and do everything. And once they turn everything except probably colors in, it was $35. I know the guy who created and drew the majority of the Sad Sacks, which was an Army life character that started back in the 40s, back during World War II. He got paid $35 a page all the way the entire time that he.
I read about that. Yeah.
He just got incredibly faster.
Yeah. But he didn't get a raise, did he?
No, never got a raise, and never got any type of royalty.
I remember I think it must have been in the 80s when Shooter was head of Marvel. I read somewhere, might have been Comics Collector or somewhere. He found that guy. He was a sergeant, wasn't he, in the army? That guy who drew Sad Sack.
Yeah,
and he gave him a like a, I don't know what we call it. He gave him a lot of money, and he bought the artwork off him as well.
Yeah,
you know, and because he found out he was living in sort of not poverty, but not doing so well.
Well, that's what really inspired.
He didn't have health insurance and stuff like that, and he paid. I think Shooter helped him with all that.
None of these guys did. None of these guys had any type of help. That's why you have over here, they've got the Hero Initiative now that tries to go around and help these creators that are really in abject poverty just to survive. I know they've helped Bill Loeb's out quite a bit in the last 10 15 years or so, but it's just a travesty, the way these guys were treated. But back in the old days, in the 30s or in the 40s and 50s, comics were always disposable. So in England and UK, they'd print on the cheapest newsprint they could find, and it looked a lot like our National Enquirer. It's just very disposable, 9p, 6p.
Yep.
That's all they asked for.
Well, that's why TV Century 21 was revolutionary in the mid 60s, because I told you before that was printed on photogravure, and it was magazine size, it was magazine style, and indeed if you look at the early covers, they're like a newspaper that have like things like Stingray lost, and do a little sort of editorial with a picture of Troy Tempest next to it, that kind of. It looked like a newspaper.
Yeah, and we looked at Captain Scarlet. Century 21 cover that you had here. We looked at that a couple of weeks back. There's an example of some of the work out of Century 21. Here's Stingray.
That's Ron Embleton.
Beautiful painted work.
Ron Embleton, that
gorgeous painted work.
Yeah,
there are entire reprint volumes of that out from R&R. Looks like comic albums. Let's see. Revette Books have kicked out entire volumes of both Stingray and Thunderbirds in large sets. Also, I think there's probably a couple of Captain Scarlets as well. Maybe a Fireball XL5. The Gary Anderson Super Marionation stuff.
Yeah.
Then what? We get to Eagle?
Eagle. Well, Eagle was, to use that wonderful phrase, before my time. Even I'm not that old. My older brother used to read the Eagle, but I was only a kid. But I do remember.
I'm old, but I ain't that old.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, I'm the oldest here, I think.
Well, I've shown this before. This is from Dragon's Dream, a collection of Eagle strips covering the war efforts of Winston Churchill and Montgomery.
Yeah. That's Frank Bellamy.
Called High Command. Just absolute gorgeous stuff. I'm going to open this very cautiously because my older books tend to crack the spines, but look at that.
Yeah.
Again, we're looking at that great painted work like Trigon Empire and Century 21. Bellamy is just a master.
Yeah.
At
do you know what Frank Bellamy wanted to do? Do you know what his sort of ambition was? He wanted to go and live in Africa and study the animals and draw them. And if you look at his Thunderbirds, he has he brings in rhinos and all sorts of stuff. All sorts of, tigers and lions, all this sort of African stuff he brings in.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a master artist, Frank Bellamy.
Well, Thunderbirds went all over the place anyway.
Yeah. I mean, we got this. I've got the Revette Thunderbirds one here.
Hang on.
One of them.
Let me blow that up. There, go ahead.
And there's Bellamy.
Oh yeah.
It's just beautiful. Absolutely stunning artwork. A great artist, and he died when he was in 76, age 59.
Yeah.
very young. So
I've got a half a dozen Thunderbirds Revette books. They're all just gorgeous. I think I
well,
paid
the Eagle was
10 bucks a piece for it.
was created by Frank Hampson in 1953, I think, and he put that. He lived up near me, and he put that magazine together, Eagle, with that's Frank Hampson.
Dan Dare.
Yeah, with I can't remember the guy. He's called Marcos, I think. He was a vicar, and he put together he worked with him on a church magazine, and asked him to do strips, and that's where that came from. That guy there, see the older guy with the hat on, that like general looking at the beginning of the thing.
Yeah.
That's based on Frank Hampson's dad.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, again, it's all painted, all hand painted. It's all beautiful, hand lettered. The whole thing, beautiful stuff.
Really glad you're spending the time this morning to help us go through some of this stuff.
Well, I tell you that
I would have never have known that.
I tell you that that sad story about that Bellamy, that Hampson artwork, didn't I?
Yeah.
Bent up to keep a door open.
Yeah.
A piece of original eagle artwork from the 50s, folded over as a door jamb. Look at that.
Just amazing stuff. Beautiful work. And again, this is a Dragon's Dream volume. That's if you ever see this at a show, folks, or at a convention, definitely buy it. It's worth it for the artwork alone, let alone the story. This was kicked out in '79.
Frank Hampson used to work like
and they
what's it called?
Multiple volumes of it as well.
Yeah. What's the guy called? Ross. Is it? What's he called? Who paints the
Alex Ross?
Alex Ross. Yeah. He does a lot of photographic. He does his own photographs, doesn't he? Well, Frank Bellamy used to do that. Poses.
Yeah.
People in his studio would pose. They'd take a photograph and they'd use that as a reference for the strip.
Alex Ross, long before there was Alex Ross.
That's right. Yeah. Nothing is new.
Nothing. No, I have here.
People should learn that, because that before their time, there actually was a time, and things were happening.
They're figuring that out about everything in general. Before our time, there was a time. But here's some Eagle reprints straight up. Or was that the cover of Eagle at the time, with the eagle up there in the corner?
Yeah.
This is the Red Moon Mystery. This is from Titan Books.
Yeah.
And if you're not familiar with Titan Books, go ahead.
If you want to read a book that will break your heart, read The Man Who Drew Tomorrow. That's about Frank Hampson, how he was treated and how he developed Dan Dare and everything. But it came out in 1986, and I read it, and I tell you, I can't read it again. It's so heartbreaking the way that he was treated in regards in same old story, copyrights and royalties and all that.
There's a lot of people from back in the day that were treated like that. It's really sad.
Everybody was. It wasn't unusual.
Except for Bob Kane.
It's just that some people were treated harsher than others. Well, you had your exceptions. There's always exceptions to the rule. And the thing with Kane and the thing with Charles Moulton is they went into the offices and basically cut their. Kane was a grifter showman. I mean, depending upon who you talk to. As far as that label go, that label might not apply depending upon who you talk to. But all of the histories that I've read of Kane is that he was more of a showman than an actual artist. Yeah. And he was always able to put his name on everything.
Yeah.
Well, because he kind of went behind Bill Finger's back and copyrighted it under his own name. Because everything we know about everything about Batman, more or less, is the product of Bill Finger, not Bob Kane. The name Batman and the fact he has a bat like cape is Kane, but everything else, Bruce Wayne, Commissioner Gordon, most of the Rogues Gallery was Bill Finger.
Even that heralds back to pulp magazine stories that Finger lifted, because they were doing funny books. They had no idea that any of this would become iconic or make movie studios billions of dollars. So, when they did it, they were just doing it to get a little bit of money to put food on the table, maybe some notoriety. And as far as Kane is concerned, I think he was out more for the notoriety than the actual money.
Just want to show you this Thunderbirds piece by Frank Bellamy, and I'm getting Steve Ditko vibes from that guy there.
Yeah.
That bendy, rubbery kind of beast.
Oh yeah, look at that.
But it's just fabulous. Just the
fun.
colours on that.
super bright and fun.
Yeah, and all done in what they called inks, and they still survive today. You know, they're still as bright today.
Yeah.
On the original artwork. I wish I had a piece of it. I've seen the original artwork, but I don't own any.
So in the early 70s, Marvel starts an office over in Britain to reprint their material, and they start reprinting it on the cheapest format that they can.
They were actually reprinting it in the mid '60s in Wham and Terrific.
Okay.
I think I've said this before on the program. There was like our comics are odd sizes to American comics, more squarer, bigger and squarer. Mm-hmm. They started it was great for me because I'd just discovered Marvel, and I was getting all the back issues before I got the real back issues in black and white in Terrific Comic and Pow and Wham. But because the sizes were different, the page size was different, they'd often chop the panels up and rearrange them.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, get this, they'd also cut the bottom edge of the bottom panel off and continue the drawing down for a quarter of an inch. Do you understand what I mean? And the guy doing that was none other than Barry Windsor Smith when he was 16.
Right.
He was drawing like a quarter of an inch at the end of the bottom of the panel of the Fantastic Four, just continuing the lines down, to fit the comic.
Which is really sad, and we'll get to 2000 AD in here real quick. But when 2000 AD was reprinted here in the States, they had somebody go through and slop a bunch of color on it, and they took the square illustrations and stretched them.
Doesn't work, does it?
And looked,
it doesn't work.
Oh, they were horribly done, just horribly printed. Cell Q Productions, and then later, I think the same company decided to call themselves Eagle Comics and took the icon eagle and stuck it in a triangle. I don't know if they even paid for a licensing right from Eagle to do that.
A few issues ago in Comics Unlimited, I wrote an article about this Pow and Wham being, bastardized and chopped up and changed the panels, and I made a point to point out this fantastic Jack Kirby Fantastic Four. I'm not sure which issue it was, but Prince Namor was in it, the Submariner, and whoever it was at the editorial must have chopped the page up and just rearranged the panels, and it works. And I wrote in the article, I don't know whether this was luck that it still worked, or whether it was the genius of Kirby that whatever position you put his panels in, they work. You know what I mean? Yeah. But they chopped it up. They used to get a pair of scissors and get the I don't know what they were working on.
Photostats. Yeah, probably the photostats. Yeah,
chop them all up. Just drop it in and leave panels out because it didn't fit the arrangement. But I showed you this before. Sorry, I showed you this before.
Oh yeah.
This is a fantastic volume, but look at that where the panels didn't fit.
Yeah,
whole half page, empty because the panels didn't fit, and like on the other page as well. You see that?
Yeah.
See the gap.
Yeah, I would just put something there, but that's my own opinion.
My thing,
they didn't care to. They just, what are we going to do with this? Leave it blank. Don't worry about it.
My thing would be just to print them the size they should be. But what do I know about anything?
Yeah, tell me about it.
It's morning. I don't know about good. Right?
It's morning. Also, before that, during that period, there were a lot of great comic strips coming out from the UK. We covered this last episode. The James Bond strip was out late 50s, early 60s. The Jeff Hawke strip, which is just amazing, was out for the longest time, and we're looking again at some great Titan reprints. I'll make sure we mention those before the end of the show. Frank Bellamy was there, and I got to look here before I show it because some of the Garths can be a little too adult. But we got that.
Do you know of an artist called David Wright, English artist? Well, he drew lots of strips up to he died in 1967. This kind of stuff. Can you see that? Sorry, is it?
You're kind of warping here.
Yeah, it's trying to focus in on it.
Yeah, it looks a lot like the Secret Agent Corrigan or Secret Agent X9 material from that Alex Raymond and Williamson would do. Yeah,
and it's called Carol Day, and she's a secret agent and all that kind of stuff going on. but it was just fabulous artwork.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't know whether you can see it.
Just the shadows, the blacks alone.
Yeah.
Just great. Also, Holiday.
Yeah,
Holiday. That's good.
yeah.
Oh wow.
Jim Holiday on Modesty Blaze. Take a look at some of that.
Hold
stuff.
away, yeah.
Hold away. Sorry.
That guy kind of looks like Roddy McDowell there a little bit.
It does. It's kind of a
very English. Yeah. There's a classic right there. Classic Modesty.
Yeah.
Picture.
Yeah.
Just phenomenal. And a great strip, incredibly well written. And those collections are out too. Titan also did a set of those. If you're not familiar with Titan books, folks, anything out there, you look for that little the double crescent, anything from Titan Books. They always take care on how they print stuff. They always do the best reprint jobs that they can possibly do. Just a top-notch printing company. Then you can't go wrong with anything printed from Titan Books.
And David Wright was a fantastic artist, illustrative artist as well. And look at that painting there.
Let me blow that up just a second. Here we go.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
I know it's flashing a bit. You see that?
That's wild how your camera likes to
Yeah.
focus like that and do a strobe effect.
Look at that.
Yeah. Wow.
It's fabulous work. And it's very underrated and not well known,
That heralds back to all of those 1950s and 60s paperback books.
Yeah.
The outgrowth from the pulp era, where they used to stick detective stories, secret agent stories, manly man stories out in paperback size. They did a lot of Doc Savage reprints, a lot of Avengers, a few Shadows, that kind of thing.
So Britain went through like the same thing during the same thing like American did with the true crime and the true romance or not true romance, but romance comics and everything. But the 1950s or
over in the UK, and correct me if I'm wrong, Glenn, not a whole lot of superheroes after Miracle Man.
No,
not a lot of the old style superhero characters, which really took root here in the 60s, didn't happen over in the UK. There was some of it over there, and when Marvel popped over, people were freaking out, but that was more because of the art. A lot of the stuff they were doing was Fantastic Four, Nick Fury, that kind of material that was more accessible as opposed to guys in underwear swinging around.
Well, I think that one of the, if not the first, probably not the first, but one of the first superheroes in comics that I remember would probably, you'll laugh, but you'll see what I mean. It was Captain Scarlet, because he had a power.
Yeah,
and the power was to come back to life,
not to die.
People in Thunderbird, people in Thunderbirds and Stingray didn't come. Those guys could be killed. You know what I mean? I know they're only puppets, but you understand what I mean. But Captain Scarlet had a power because he was indestructible. He could come back to life, so he had a superpower.
They weren't puppets; they were super marionettes.
They were super marionettes. You're right.
Yeah. Super marionation.
You are. Yeah, a puppet is something
by the great Gary Anderson.
Yeah.
Who is, probably one of the most underrated storytellers. Him and his entire team.
Alan Fennell is the guy behind a lot of it. He wrote a lot. He wrote the TV21 strips. He created TV21. He wrote a lot of the Stingray episodes on Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet. Yeah, great writer.
They tried a Thunderbirds live action movie, and it.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't.
Well, I've never seen it. I was looking forward, not so much to seeing that, but my sister saw it and she said, "Whatever you do, don't go and see it." So I've never watched it.
It's one of those few movies that Bill Paxton was in that wasn't any good, right?
Track down Jonathan Frakes,
and
ask him if they ever did a live action Thunderbirds movie. I'm pretty sure he'll deny it.
Right. It's also,
or he'll go, yeah.
It sort of wrecked his career as well, isn't it, Frakes? Yes, I don't think they're giving him the money again, have they? So
he has never directed a feature film since.
Do you know, if anybody in
does a lot of television now.
If anybody in actordom, or whatever you want to call it, who should have played the Hood in that film, should have been Patrick Stewart. Star Trek. No, well, he was.
Yul Brynner probably passed at that point.
500 years old. I'm talking about the current, when it was made current, should have been Patrick Stewart, Picard. Because what's he called? The other guy, the guy who played Gandhi. He's very good, but Ben
Kingsley.
Ben Kingsley, he
Kingsley.
missed it.
Yep.
He missed it.
Yeah, played the
Maybe-
Mandarin in Iron Man,
Oh, right.
and they
right.
wasted him.
Right.
You don't waste an actor like Ben Kingsley. I'm sorry.
So the big kids comic in the late 70s or in the mid 70s, then 75, 76 was Battle, right?
Yeah.
Battle was huge.
Yeah.
And
We had a
Battle
lot-
obviously covered war stories.
We had a lot of those kind of things. We had Commando comics, you know, the little square digest size. You've probably seen them.
Yeah.
Ace and all this kind of stuff. Yeah.
I need more samples of those. I don't see them. You never see them over here in the States. If I were to ever have seen them, I'd have picked them up.
They're up to about issue 6,000 now.
I
So-
believe that.
So I think I remember reading years ago that MASH, the TV program
Mhm.
MASH, that series actually lasted longer than the Korean War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also read, and get this, when they made Apollo 13 with Tom Hanks, and they go up in that plane that does the parabolic, and they go weightless for 30 seconds. When you see Tom Hanks and the crew weightless, they're because they're in the parabolic curve and the aircraft. Those guys on that film, along with the director and Cunningham, whatever he's called, and all those guys, the cinematographer, they spent more time weightless than the Apollo 13 crew did. Making that film because they could only do it.
Ron Howard,
because they could only do it 30 seconds at a time.
Yeah.
So that they spent more time weightless than the actual mission, which I think is great.
Battle had a couple of great strips that have been collected, like Charlie's
that's
War.
Pat Mills, and Joe Colloon, yeah, fabulous, yeah.
Colloon,
that really
not
is
Colloon?
Colloon, yeah.
I'm going to blow this up so everybody can see the line work. The camera is not going to do justice to the detail and the line work in this strip, but it is amazing.
Yeah, it's fabulous artwork.
Just fabulous.
yeah.
Yep.
Joe Colloon used to draw my favorite war strip, which was Paddy Payne, and he was a fighter pilot. He flew a Spitfire. Paddy Payne, he was brilliant.
Paddy Payne.
Yeah.
See, there needs to be more of that stuff reprinted over here.
Yeah.
So that everybody gets to see how great
it needs to be reprinted over here as well.
Well, the war comics, there's such an anti-war sentiment here that the war comics aren't ever reprinted. You're lucky to see DC do Sergeant Rock once every decade anymore just to secure the copyright to it. But I think the last war collections that I saw were in the Showcase Presents line. They reprinted, I think, 2 Sergeant Rock books, one Losers book, which covered, I think it got up or through Kirby's run.
Right.
And The War That Time Forgot, because that should have been a movie, should still be a movie. That's World War II on Dinosaur Island. Just
was it Joe?
Idea.
Was
Great
it Joe Kubert who drew Gunner and Sarge and Pooch? Was that Our Fighting Forces?
Well, Kubert and Ralph Reese and who's his name escapes me. I narrated a panel that he was on once. Fascinating, great guy. Wasn't Reese. Name escapes me. I'd have to look it up. I'll think of it late at night tonight. But also another great strip out of Battle was Major Easy, which was a World War II strip. That was the start of Carlos Esquerra's career.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Fabulous, yeah.
And again, this is a book, a Titan reprint book. And Titan has gone through and reprinted a number of English strips. So they obviously can't do them all, but
that's fabulous. Do you know, can I just say here, can I have a quick plug here? You can read all about these comics in Crikey, on the
I'm
back
sure you can. Yes, sir. That's why I'm glad you're here.
We cover all this stuff.
And you still carry articles in Comics Unlimited about UK strips.
Of course. Oh, yeah, of course, definitely. Yeah.
It's the Marvel stuff, the Battle stuff, all comes out. And Pat Mills gets a chance to do a boys comic. He says, I want to do a boys comics. He's got romance comics. The war comics books is still out. The humor books are going okay. Pat Mills is working for the big, was it IPC? Was the big comic distributor. Decides he's going to do a war comic, or not a war comic, but he's going to do a boys comics, but he doesn't want to do superheroes. So he does science fiction.
Oh, okay.
And if you haven't seen 2000 AD, I mean, the only thing that anybody here in the States probably knows of 2000 AD is Judge Dredd.
Yeah.
from the Stallone movie and the Carl Urban movie, and they're the constant threats and talks that they're actually going to do a Judge Dredd series, or Mega City 1 series. You can get the Judge Dredd episodes that were in 2000 AD used to carry 5 different stories, or 5 or 6 stories. Each one was 5 pages long. And they, because of their rights issues, because of the way the rights issues were structured, the creators actually got a chunk of those rights. So it gets really difficult. You're never going to see an archive collection of 2000 AD with the different progs. They called them progs back then, each issue. But you will see collections of the individual properties.
Yeah.
And this is a Judge Dredd case file book. This is from Rebellion, who currently owns 2000 AD. It's still in print. There are at least 10 of them here in the States. I believe there's at least 25 of them in England, if not more, in the UK. And they're available on Amazon as well. This book, the first Judge Dredd case files, covers his first appearance, which was in the second issue of 2000 AD, all the way through issue 60. And he was in every issue of 2000 AD once he started, because he became that popular of a character.
Yeah.
Again, if you haven't read this stuff, you need to. If you're into comics, it's great comics.
It's funny that when we finally got the essential reprints of Captain America and Spider-Man and all that, they're all in black and white, and you can really, for the first time, really see the artwork.
Oh yeah.
But one of the best things I think about is 2000 AD is that it is printed in black and white, and again you can see the artwork, right? Rather than, because it's on newsprint, it would have been crappy like the American comics are. I know it's part of the charm and all that, but I want to look at the artwork, which is why, like I said, the essentials are essential. If you can get them, because that's why they call it. They're wonderful. They're wonderful things. Well, Pat Mills is we call him Britain's Stan Lee, because he brought all this stuff together and got all the best artists. And the best thing about Judge Dredd was that after you'd get a series, you get a story that would last, say, 3 or 4 issues, and you get a new artist. You get Bolland on one, then you get Cam Kennedy, you get Ron Smith, you get and Mike McMahon. You get all these different artists on it, and they're all totally different styles, but really fantastic artists.
Once the character took off, they kept him in total production.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, Mills would try out different artists on short stories, future shock stories, even on the case files. Even when they were printed in color, they knock them down to grayscale and print them in the book.
But my favorite 2000 AD strip is Rogue Trooper, especially when Cam Kennedy draws it.
We'll get there.
Yeah, but I don't have time. I'm going in 5 minutes.
Are you?
Yeah. I might stay a bit longer.
It's
only a football match. It's only once every 4 years,
It's only once every 4 years. The first issue, let me swap out my glasses here. This first case files in the first 58 episodes of Dredd. You literally got Bellardini. Did I pronounce that right?
Is it Bellardini?
Bellardini, sure. Yes. Yeah. Brian Boland, who everybody knows. Joe Collins, John Cooper, Carlos Esquera, Ian Gibson.
Yeah, you did Halo Jones and all that kind of thing. Yeah.
Mike McMahon.
Yeah, Mike McMahon.
McMahon, sorry.
Yeah.
I just said McMahon for whatever. McMahon, okay. Ron Turner in the first volume. Second volume. Also quite as thick, covers 61 to 115. And that has luckily they do little bios in the back, so you know who's who or what they did. Brian Boland again, of course, Mike McMahon again, Dave Gibbons, who did everybody knows Dave
Watchmen.
Gibbons, Watchmen. I think his short paragraph long biography is longer than everybody else's. Brendan McCarthy.
Yeah.
Also well known. Brett Ewins.
Brett Ewins,
we'll cover more of him in a minute. Gary Leach.
Yeah, he died recently, didn't
he? Yeah, he did. And the great Ron Smith. I'm not sure if Ron is still alive or not, but what an illustrator.
If he is, he must be about 95.
What an illustrator.
I think he died a couple of years ago.
I can't. Let's.
He drew the strip in. I think it was the Star. I'm not sure which newspaper it was in, but he drew that. He did that as a regular.
Well, the Star strip was drawn by a large variety of people, depending again, like the story, the comic strip that they had. This, I believe, is Ron.
Yes, that's Ron Smith.
Oh, wow.
Ron Smith's stuff.
Yeah.
There's a phenomenal story of a 3-part story of a dead zone that's between Mega City 1, which is on the East Coast, Mega City 2, which is on the West Coast. And Judge is driving back and forth, gets into a small town that ends up being invaded by mutant spiders. And holy crap, the thing is absolutely as out of towns do. Yep. And that story is incredible. I mean, it still sticks out to me today as so just beautifully drawn. Here's Brian Boland.
Yeah.
Young, early Brian Boland.
It's so much better when it's not a color.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great in color, don't get me wrong, but I just
whole
I like
different
to see it in white. I guess it's just
all right. We'll get to Rogue Trooper. Describe Rogue Trooper.
He was what do you call it? A clone. He was a clone soldier, and it was a bit like the fugitive. He was on the run, and they were always trying to get him, and he was trying to get this guy who was responsible for killing his friends. And his friends, because he's a clone, he's like a robot LMD thing. He has a chip in his head that's like his personality.
Light blue skin. He's got it in the back of his neck. The chip's in it.
And he had the chip in his rifle, his helmet, and his backpack of his friends, and they used to talk to him.
Well, there was a big war going on, and they used bioengineered warriors, and they used to send them down in sets of 4. And if your buddy got blown away, the body was, recyclable, easy enough. But the thing that they needed was the chip, the memory chip that drove the body.
Yeah.
So all 4 of these guys go landing down onto the war planet. And one guy gets blown away, and the trooper grabs the chip and sticks it in his helmet. The second guy gets blown away, grabs the chip and puts it in his gun. Third guy blows away, grabs the chip, puts it on his backpack, and then they all start talking to him. All the chips do. And then he figures out, as most people, soldiers like that, grunts do, the war is a farce.
Yeah.
And so he goes rogue. So he becomes Rogue Trooper.
It was co-created. I think it was Jerry Finley Day and Dave Gibbons co-created Rogue Trooper. But there's somebody pointed out a while back, many years ago now, that there was a Sergeant Rock story where he was talking to his weapon as if it was alive, and they just wondered whether Dave Gibbons had seen that. I don't know. I presume he has.
No ideas are totally fresh.
Exactly.
There's always a bleed back to them.
Well, there was David Bowie's son, Duncan Jones, is supposed to be making a film about Rogue Trooper.
There's been Rogue Trooper in development since the 80s. Rutger Hauer was originally attached to the.
He'd have been good at that.
He'd have been amazing. He'd have been amazing. The first volume covers his appearances from 228 to 317. That's the first time Rogue Trooper popped in. And the writers on this are attributed to Gary Finley Day and Alan Moore.
Right.
Must have wrote a little bit of it. And then the artist end of it is attributed to Dave Gibbons, Brett Ewins, Cam Kennedy, Colin Wilson, Eric Bradbury, and Mike Dory. So
Colin Wilson, the writer?
Colin Wilson. It's gone from iconic status at 2000 AD to European superstardom as the artist of Mobius's classic Western Young Blueberry. For the Galaxy's Greatest Comics, Wilson was very early Rogue Trooper artist and has also penciled Future Shock's Judge Dredd Pulp Sci-Fi and Tor Cyan, as well as co-created the series Rain Dogs. He then broke into the U.S. market with the Point Blank miniseries DC Wildstorm before heading back to Europe with a new crime series Dupont Dans La Type Headshot for French publisher Casterman. Currently, he's working on a revival of the old Fleetway World War II hero Battler Britain for DC Wildstorm.
It's not the Colin Wilson.
Never materialized.
But there's a famous British writer named Colin Wilson.
I'm sure there's a few Colin Wilsons out there. Yeah. The books again are set up like the phone books, like the Essentials volumes. There are English and I think one or two American volumes of Rogue Trooper, but they're hard to find. You can find the English reprints over on Amazon. Believe me, for that much comics, there's like over 500 pages total. For
And
only
and it's all good stuff as well.
oh,
So
and
was
it's
it
very
was it
incredible
printed
stuff.
in black and white, or was it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
All
Never
of these
colour.
were printed in glorious black and white. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I'll tell you what. Here's my Rogue Trooper that I sent me samples in.
Hang on.
Never even got a reply. There's one.
Not even a thank you for submission,
Nope.
but not at this time. Yeah.
Nothing.
There you go. That could have been
Yeah.
printed.
Wow,
And
I like the
it-
thing.
Here's another one. Pence. This is from 1986, I think.
Yeah.
And then
Look at
that
that.
one.
Beautiful. Sweet.
This camera's going crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, just a little. It's hard to catch your lines on that. Yeah.
And there's the chips talking to him.
Mhm.
Can you see on the bottom there? Don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, I can see it.
Wow, look at that blue
Now it's
on there.
blue.
Yeah, now it was blue there for a minute. Now it's green. Now it's blue.
So I sent those in a hope because I heard that Cam Kennedy was leaving, so I drew it, and it's similar to his style. Didn't even get a reply.
Mm. Sorry to hear that. Here's Colin Wilson's artwork.
Wow.
Yeah, a bit better than mine. That's probably why I didn't get a reply.
And again, if you haven't read these, amazing. They're all great. Each one has their own rogues gallery, their own group of characters. There's a female character that runs through here called Blue Jean that I seem to remember quite fondly.
Yeah, you have to have a love interest, don't we?
Yep.
Right, Randy, I'm going to drop out because my football match is coming on. Look at
There's a
that.
Bethune.
Bethune. Look at that. Wow.
All right, Glenn, have good time with your football, and
I'd like
we'll
to stay
see you.
longer, but I've got to watch this game.
We'll fake it from here. So
I'm surprised there's no other British people on, so that's why I came on.
Ross, where are you? Yeah,
Because
exactly. I was
you
hoping Ross
guys
would be
just
here.
don't have a clue of what you're talking about, do you?
Oh,
That's a joke. That's a joke.
We're faking it as best as we
only
can.
one of us, at least. At least only one of us. So,
Right, I'm gone. I'm going to see you later.
All right, Glenn. Tell folks how they can find you.
You can get all my stuff on Amazon. I've got 10 books on there. You can get Comics Unlimited on there. You can get my Kirby book from me with a DVD of me talking to Jack in his house. But yeah, if you go to Amazon or Facebook or Instagram, the usual places. But if you go to Amazon, you can get most of my books are on there. Science fiction books, Kennedy assassination, children's books, all kinds of different things. And Comics Unlimited is on there too. Just put my name in Amazon and you'll find it.
Very quickly, in that last release of the 13,000 pieces of paper from the JFK files, anything in there important at all?
I've not seen it yet, but I doubt it. I doubt it because everything's been redacted and
But they're
blah blah blah. You know, they're still going with the lone nut theory when the evidence clearly shows. But anyway, no, nothing. Not that I've seen. Not that I've been made aware of, and I have not looked at it yet. Anyway.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, but you
Take
can
care.
find my 2 books about it on Amazon.
Now, when you watch, but I'm sorry to keep you on here.
No, it's
when
all
you,
right.
when you watch football, do you gather with a large bowl of chips and something else to drink? And as you're watching, do you stand up and cheer? Or
No, but I'll criticize the play, especially when
you yell at the refs?
especially when the Argentinians start diving and getting people sent off. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't want France to win it, and I don't want Argentina to win it, but one of them's going to win it, so I go for France.
I watched my son-in-law. We sat and watched the Lions game last weekend, and
All right.
I mean, I would not regular football. I almost said that.
Yeah.
American football. It's
Yeah.
not regular football. American football, and watching him react to the screen was more entertaining than actually watching the game.
Yeah, that has been said of me as well, especially when England are playing, but they're not.
There you go. All right,
Right.
Glenn. Have a
I'm
good
gone.
time.
Have
We'll
a good
see you.
time.
Have
I'll see you
Great
later.
rest of your weekend. We'll see you on Friday.
See ya.
Take care.
See ya.
So many other great comics, and there's so much more to 2000 AD than Judge Dredd. Like Rogue Trooper, it's just one out of dozens of properties that are imaginative and crazy science fiction oriented, all IPs that could make, most of them could make phenomenal movies.
Oh yeah, wow.
That's why there was such a big fight over the rights for 2000 AD. Rebellion ended up buying them, and now they're slowly looking at what they have. I mean, and what they have is just incredible. It gets crazy. And there was a time there with when IPC had it that it was so popular. It was coming out weekly. 2000 AD has always been weekly. That's why they're on Prague 5000 and something now. But they also kicked out a companion magazine for a short period of time called Star Lord.
But not the Star Lord, right?
Not the Star Lord.
Not the American Star
Quill
Lord.
wasn't in it.
Right.
Peter Quill was created probably right around the same time. But Star Lord was a magazine for a good, I don't know how many issues they went before they ended up folding that into 2000 AD. They also took another boys comic before that called Tornado and bumped it in. They ran from the 13th of May to the 7th of October of 1978. Excuse me for a second.
If any of these are going to take a foothold, I know that the Dredd movie has a few people that liked it. That last Dredd movie.
Well,
it was great.
They can't do a Dredd movie without there having to be a mistake in there somewhere. They need to sit down and really. The big problem with the Carl Urban Dredd movie, they captured the character right this time, unlike the Stallone film. But they didn't capture the feel of the total feel of the strip. Plus, the plot of the film was so close to the Raid. It's a Korean movie that was even more violent and vicious than the Judge Dredd movie was. Same basic concept: big high-rise apartment with the drug lord at the top story, with the guy who's working his way up. A lot of action going on, very much like Game of Death.
It sounds like Marvel premiere of Iron Fist.
Yeah, very much. Well, Iron Fist was patterned very much off of Game of Death. One of the big properties that started in Star Lord, one of my favorite properties that ended up over in 2000 AD, was Strontium Dog.
Mm.
And looks like Rogue Trooper visually.
It does kind of.
Well, Carlos Esquera created. Yeah, Johnny Alpha is a mutant who can see in the dark. This is a time when mutants are downtrodden. This was before Claremont got a hold and decided to turn X-Men into a statement about racism. Anyway, the mutants were always downtrodden, could never get work. So the only work that they could get were that of bounty hunters. So Johnny Alpha, who is the main guy, and the reason they're called strontium dogs is because it was a strain of strontium radiation that was able to mutate the DNA on these folks and make different mutants.
Oh,
and so he's a strontium dog who is his real name's Johnny Alpha. He's a bounty hunter, and that's not. Also, one of Carlos, really Carlos Esquera's baby on this.
You mind if I put it on the big screen?
Oh, here, let me blow that up. I got it. Boom. Sorry. And again, just phenomenal artwork, great story, fun characters, just a good strip. There they are, of course. At the end, walking away as the heroes that they are, you know. He had at the start an array of different weapons, but it pretty much tied down to his Viking companion and him and their blasters running after bounties. But he did have something called a time bomb that was amazing. That he had somebody trapped on the other side of a window, and he took out one of his time bombs and set it for 10 seconds and threw it through the window, and it blew up, and it takes whatever it blows up and displaces it in time for however long you've arranged it. Huh. So it reappears 10 seconds later. Way out in deep space. Because that planet hit.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, this is quite fun. But for UK at the time, all of this stuff, the 2000 AD stuff, was considered incredibly subversive. When I ran across it in 77, 78, I was coming off of the underground movement and the war in magazines. Eerie and Creepy had a lot of IPs that they ran through. Eerie especially ran through on a continuing basis. So all of those characters usually ran 3 or 4 or 5 episodes and then were killed, usually rather violently at the end of their stories. That's where the Rook came from, if you're familiar with that property. And we should probably get back. That's another time traveling character who jumped into a time machine that looked a lot like a Rook chess piece.
There's also, I think El Cid was another serialized character in Erie.
Yeah. Hunter by Paul Neary was the big one in Erie for a while, and it was just beautiful. You're really close to Frank Frazetta. We'll probably do another episode eventually in Sunday Funnies about some of the great Erie stuff. I personally don't own a lot of that material yet, but there's key issues that I want to track down. Just like there's a couple of key Savage Swords of Conan's that we're going to get for Comics by Night eventually. That
oh yeah,
I've got a few feelers out for that are just 30 pages of unbelievable, goodness per story, pretty much just gorgeous stuff. But yeah, Rogue Trooper also once they Star-Lord absorbed into a 2000 AD, Rogue Trooper was pretty much the property that survived. There's a couple of fan films on YouTube of Rogue Trooper. Folks
really?
that have shown how great the character could be live action. There are also large collections. This is again the UK version of the Strontium Dog collection. There are 2 that were printed here in the States, and the way that you can tell them apart from the English printed version or the UK printed versions is because the cover on them will be in color, just like the Judge Dredd case files, as opposed to monotone, like what these are. All of these, again, printed in black and white. Lots of great stories, all told in 5-page increments, mostly by Carlos Esquera here. This has got Carlos Esquera, Ian Gibson, Brendan McCarthy, and Keith Page in it. And the writers on this volume, which is the first volume, is co-creator John Wagner and some guy named Alan Grant, who went on to do some Batman stuff.
R.I.P.
Oh,
R.I.P. Very much so. Just phenomenal properties. Some of them are crazy, but some of them were also another favorite of mine that they did was Harry Harrison's They adapted Harry Harrison's Stainless Steel Rat novels. And that's pretty much it takes a thief in a space opera setting. Master thief gets captured by the government and told that his abilities were needed to steal important things for the government, and if he didn't cooperate, well, things would not end well for them. So, and again,
just like in real life.
Just like in real life. This was done by I want to say Kevin Gosling, but no. Created by Harry Harrison. They're adapted straight from the novels. In fact, Harrison has the opening on this. They just collected this together a couple years ago. Had been waiting for this volume to come out because I remember it well and didn't have all of the 2000s with the character in it. Looking for who wrote the adaptations. I know Esquero did the majority of the artwork on this, but Gosnell, Kelvin Gosnell did the majority of the adaptations here off of the Harry Harrison books. It's just fun. It's just great stuff. Well, good character, a lot of fun to read. A lot of the 2000 AD's material, like I said, have been reprinted. Rebellion is doing a lot of reprints now. They're doing the larger case files, but they're individual properties, one at a time. Before Rebellion bought the property from IPC, though, Titan Books again went through and did a ton of great reprint collections. This is a Judge Dredd collection that is pretty much all, in fact, I'm pretty sure it's all Brian Boland material. That covers the Judge Death storyline, which is this great character here. Look at this cover. You can't go wrong with that cover.
I think, in my opinion, the Batman Who Laughs is a complete ripoff of Judge Death, in my opinion.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Definitely inspired,
everybody
right?
borrows. Yep. Everybody borrows or is inspired by other things. Absolutely.
But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because then if somebody says that, and then they'll go and discover that character.
Yeah. Oh, look at that illustration right there. That is just beautiful.
Oh wow, yeah.
How can you? It's just gorgeous. If you see these Titan reprint books again, and they did a number of them, they're nice magazine size. You can tell they're Titan reprints. They say Titan on them. Right along the spine, right there, it'll say Titan Books. Buy them. $20, $25, $30, whatever you have to do, they're worth it. Good, great stuff, especially if you've never read them before. Do get the
found
case
mine
files
at,
though, if you can.
I found the ones I have at Second and Charles for like $5 each.
There you go.
At what?
Second and Charles for $5
There's
each
the-
for one in my town.
The first
Oh,
Rogue
okay.
Trooper Titan collection, and they're printed large, just a little bigger than the actual comics, and in black and white again, so that you can see how great they are. And they've reprinted a number of books, and Titan is still reprinting books and collections to this day, just not the Rebellion 2000 AD material. A lot of other UK material. Another great property, which I'm sure Mitch is aware of, is Nemesis of Warlock.
Oh yes, that's probably my favorite 2000 AD
Tell us about it.
property. It's essentially in the far future where Earth has kind of descended into a this cult-like church. The main villain is Torquemada, and it's kind of the creators of it. I think it's Pat Mills and Kevin O'Neill.
Yeah.
Kind of switch back and forth. Is he the actual Torquemada from the Inquisition resurrected, or is he just like a person who just takes his name? But there's a alien resistance, or like in hang on. It's been a while since I've read the stories, but it's
Oh wow.
Nemesis the Warlock is part of this alien race that's trying to take over Earth, and the evil cult church is kind of standing in the way. It's this kind of like battle over who gets more or less this battle over who gets to rule over humanity.
Literally Kevin O'Neill unleashed.
Yeah.
If you imagine, if you thought martial law was great, this is greater.
Yeah.
In my opinion, without a doubt. Just detail upon detail. He knew the material was reprinted in black and white, and he just kicked the walls out on it. Just amazing. Main character is the green Nemesis here. Right there.
Yeah, the big red guy's Torquemada.
Yep. Just great. Again, collections of this are out. I believe Amazon still has at least one volume of Nemesis available.
The volume 2, you can get it on paperback for $437.
That's somebody trying to stab the price up because of they know the English stuff is rare. That, quite frankly, if it goes out of print, it becomes extra rare. Pat Mills, creator, writer, Kevin O'Neill, Jesus Redondo, Brian Talbot, who I think went on to do some stuff for DC, if I'm not mistaken.
He did.
The thing with the 2000 ADs and the guys that worked there, if they got any type of notoriety whatsoever, Karen Berger would make trips Karen Berger, who ran DC Vertigo, would make trips every 4 to 6 months over to the UK and hunt these guys down.
Yeah.
And say, hey, you want to work for DC? We're DC. If you want to work for us, we're DC. Come on, work for us. We're DC. And Mills, if you go and you look at that, if you look at the Future Shock documentary.
Oh, yeah, it's a great documentary.
Pissed.
Yeah.
Absolutely upset that every time he found a great artist from the UK or over
writer.
or writer from that general area, they'd get taken. And he could never keep people, especially once over in the 80s, I think 80s or 90s, they went through and changed the rights agreement for 2000 AD because they were starting to make money, and they decided to take some of those rights away from the creators, and that ended up having a lot of these guys look for greener pastures. And also at that point, you also had a couple of other magazines that I don't have examples here handy, called Deadline and Toxic, that were running stories. Warrior from Des Skin started up about that time, that did Miracle Man. Also did
V for Vendetta was another one.
V for Vendetta. Yep. Exactly. All came out of Warrior. Deadline had I believe Deadline had a couple of great strips. Let me make sure that that's where this came out of, that DC ended up getting a hold of and doing some reprints for. This is one of my favorite books, favorite properties that hardly nobody has heard of, that desperately needs to be a movie, without a doubt. And it'd be easy to do with the right casting people. And that's a strip called The Bogeyman.
Oh,
Jack Wagner, Alan Grant, and art by Robin Smith. Amazing property, amazingly well drawn. If you see this available, this was a Paradox Press printed book that was done. This is a DC side imprint that ran for maybe a year and a half. But they did a lot of strip reprints. They did the Book of Unusual collections, I think all came out from Paradox Press at the same time. But just look at this. Look at this artwork here. This is a little bit larger than a regular paperback. It's about manga paperback size. Look at that artwork. Just incredible artwork.
oh yeah.
And
The
the story is unbelievable. Look at that. This was done in the same size as the Road to Perdition book in the Art of Violence, I think it was called, that Vince Locke did.
Just look at that face.
This is in the same size. The story behind this is that there's a guy that's in the asylum who's crazy, who looks like Humphrey Bogart.
Mm-hmm.
And he ends up escaping, which is why he's got socks on here. He escapes the asylum and he gets loose among the populace, and he thinks he's Humphrey Bogart in the middle of one of Bogart's movies. And everybody else has to deal with him as he's going through an inner narration of a hard-boiled detective, Raymond Chandler, like inner narration of the situation that's going on around him. And all they really need to find is somebody who looks like Humphrey Bogart to go through, and I'm sure they'd have to clean it up with the Bogart estate, and they might not approve, considering. There's some more of that great artwork.
Well, Robert Zemeckis did an episode of Tales from the Crypt that brought Humphrey Bogart back after he died.
Yeah,
that creeps me out to this day.
Just
he died in Tales from the Crypt.
The Bogeyman, just crazy stuff. Great stuff. This issue does end, I think, with him. He's still on the loose as he travels away. Another great 2000 AD property that doesn't get enough love, and we've talked about it a couple times here. Alan Moore and Alan Davis got together to do DR and Quinch.
Yes, I really want that. I can't find that.
DR and Quinch's Guide to Life. It's been reprinted a couple of times. This is the Titan Books reprint. The Rebellion has reprinted this recently. Look under DR and Quinch.
DR and Quinch.
Yep, you might find it there listed. It's Alan Davis at his best, Alan Moore at his funniest. Very absurd, some of it vicious, very what they would consider subversive or outlaw stuff, but just incredibly funny. Just incredibly well done material. DR and Quinch's Guide to Life. Go Girl Crazy. There it is. DR and Quinch, Go Girl Crazy. Should be available. Also, a couple of the Titan Books reprinted a couple of one of the strips from 2000 AD called Halo Jones, which is a science fiction adventure of a girl going to the mall, and that's along with her mechanical dog. Ian Gibson, Unleashed here, doing great stuff. The story I have not been able to read all the way through. There are 2 volumes available. There was only 1/3 of the actual story done. Oh. But that was mentioned in the Future Shocks documentary, where they have Neil Gaiman in front of the camera going, I tracked I tracked Alan Moore down at a show one time, and we talked Halo Jones, and Moore told me exactly what he was going to do with that story. And by the time he was done, I was crying. This is not just because it was a great story, but because I realized that it would never finish seeing print. And it was just a phenomenal story. He said it would have been a landmark in sequential art if he had done it. Another great property for
He's
2008.
still around. Why can't he do it? You can't find anybody to.
Rights.
Is it a rights issue?
It's a rights
Is
issue.
it?
Yeah. Another story. I don't know if I can show this. It's got a. Well, we'll see. If we get in trouble, we're going to get in trouble. Let's get in trouble for being innocent. Zenith, by some guy named Grant Morrison and Craig Yowell. This is as close to a superhero story as 2000 AD ever did, and it's the probably the first and only story that I read of Grant Morrison, because it was enough. It was enough to turn me off on all of his stuff for the rest of his career.
Was Martial Law 2000 AD, or is that another magazine?
That was separate. I believe that might have run through Deadline, but that was pretty much in control of Pat Mills after he left 2000 AD in the editorialship. He brought Kennedy along with him. Got a couple of more great 2000 AD properties here that have been collected. One of my personal favorites, because I'm weird when it comes to oddball comic stuff. I love the oddball strip. One of the greatest, especially those strips like Atomic Knights, where you try to describe them to somebody and you get that blank look on their face. I compare it to I compare it to trying to explain somebody what curling is. It's a large stone with a handle on it that goes down a lane that is ice, and people are sweeping in front of it in order to guide it along. And it's like a big shuffle. And by the time you tell them it's like a large shuffleboard, they get this blank look on their face, like, what the fuck are you talking about? Anyway,
one of my iron.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
It's a big stone. It's a big stone and brooms. Stone and brooms. That's all you need. Anyway, another great property that 2000 AD did was Robo Hunter. Ian Gibson.
Oh, the baby. Yeah, you've told me about this one.
We've talked about this before, but yeah.
Look
at this artwork. I mean, just Ian Gibson. This is a world that finds another Earth-like Earth-like world that's uninhabited, and they ship some rockets out to build robotically a home for the people to get to by the time they move humans to the planet. They lose all communication with the ship, so they decide to send a ship out with a couple of humans to figure out what the heck happened, what went wrong. So they find an old man and a young kid that's like Han Solo, angry dude smoking a thin cigar, a Wolverine attitude. And they ship them out, and along the way they end up hitting this anomaly in space. And the anomaly de-ages them. The old man turns into a young man who looks like Han Solo, and the Han Solo angry kid turns into a baby. And so the main story is once they get to the planet, the robots have built their own civilization and have their own history and their own life that they've had since they landed, and now they have to not only defend themselves, but try to bring some order to a robotic civilization. And that anomaly that they traveled through screwed with their programming. So they see these meat jackets and they decide that, they can't trust them. Another great property. Let's do this next. Let's see. I only got a few more minutes because we're going to go an hour and a half today.
I see, just trying to look at, like, for instance, a Battle of Hope of Halo Jones, trying to find it, and they're like, "Oh, it is his color," and it's like, what is the color?
No,
it's black and white.
I don't know if they've done an annotated Halo Jones. I know they only did 2 Titan reprint books, and I bought both of them because it was Alan Moore, and I've tried to read it, and I just haven't been able to get into it. But I'm that way with a few other books as well. Ice them. Anyway. Also, another great property is Flash. And Hollywood missing out on doing this property. It's a great property about how in the future we're desperate for meat. We've talked about this before on this program. In the future, they're having a hard time feeding the populace. So they figure out a way to time travel, and they go back and start harvesting dinosaurs and sending the meat up the line in order to feed the populace.
I would have just went back in time and harvested cows and chickens.
Well, that's
just
already,
me.
They were already there. They had to go back before history in order not to affect the evolution of man.
Oh, that makes sense.
The problem is that all communication stops again, just like with robo hunters. So they end up grabbing a roughneck convict, very much like Snake Plissken. And this would have made a great Snake Plissken movie, by the way. And they send Snake Plissken down the timeline to figure out what went wrong. He goes to the compound, everybody's gone. Nobody's there at all. And he can't figure out what happened until he figures out that the dinosaurs are actually sentient.
Oh.
And once they started being harvested, they fought back. And he's got no way of really getting back because there's nobody there to run any of the equipment. It's great.
That's a snag.
Great. And the artwork on this is really well done as well. And other things happen as we go along. That's a very simplistic explanation of the story. But here, I just opened this book and take a look at the artwork here.
Golly.
Because that's what hungry dinosaurs do. Eat the flying ships. Yes.
Yeah.
Great. This was done by Joffrey Miller with art by Ballard Dinelli.
Since the dinosaurs are sentient, have the T-Rexes realized if they use grabbers, they'll be unstoppable?
That's as soon as they figure out how to do patty cake. That's a little rough to do. So they keep bumping noses instead of being able to reach. Anyway, never mind. Not really, but yes, there's the main villain of the piece is, I believe, a dinosaur called Big Red, a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Another great property that started over in Star-Lord, I believe, called Robusters, R.O. Busters, about a couple of robots that they create or that they recycle. One's an old war robot and one is a garbage robot. And they turn them into kind of an international rescue team to go out and make rescues to people that they can't send humans out to because the situation's too dangerous. And a couple of those characters from Robusters end up being incorporated into the ABC Warriors, which is another collection of warrior robots that go rogue and decide to...
Magnificent Seven.
Pat Mills created again. Kevin O'Neill, Brendan McCarthy, Dave Gibbons, Mike McMahon, excuse me. All doing the artwork. And again, what a beautiful book. What beautiful artwork. This Rebellion collection is printed on very white paper. So you can't help look at that. That gun. Kennedy right there. That's Pineapple Joe right there.
The shine on that's amazing.
That's great. Yep. And it's a whole collection. ABC stands for atomic, bacterial, and chemical. So they're sent into places that humans can't go. Here's another great Kevin O'Neill splash page of the team. Just great stuff.
Wait, is that a hobo?
It's like a Confederate, warrior. That's what it is.
Okay.
And the guy back here in the back is Mongrel. This guy here was from Robusters. That's Pineapple Joe back here. There's a mystic robot here. Another warrior general, a bloodthirsty Patton type general character here. And then almost like a Confederate general there that are all in the team.
So cool.
It's Magnificent Seven. That's what it is. IPC kicks that out. It's got a $18 price tag on it. It's 100 and some pages. It's got a little bit of color in it, depending upon when the story was printed. because after a while, 2000 AD jumped into color. Doesn't have a total page count, but it looks like about 112 to 120 pages.
Was it just a money thing why they weren't printing it in a color at that time, or?
No, it was an economic thing. They printed it in black and white for years on a weekly basis so that the kids could buy it. It'd be cheap, 9p, 10p, 12p. And then after a while in the 2000s or in the late or mid 90s, they decided to go slick.
Yeah, I think now they're in color, aren't they?
The format of 2000 AD. Yeah, now they're in color. They're on a lot slicker paper. They're, a couple of bucks or $3 or $4 a piece. And it's just like this, literally not the same, because back then they were doing, Mills intentionally tried to be subversive. It was almost like a UK version of Undergrounds, made for kids, made for teenage boys, mostly with science fiction overtone. Well, all the 2000 ADs were science fiction overtones. And just some really imaginative, incredible properties. I ran across it because I was a huge Star Wars fan when New Hope came out, Empire came out. I ran across a copy of, I thought I had it handy here. Anyway, Fantastic Films magazine had an article about the 2000 ADs, and I'm like, oh, I got to find those. So I kept my eyes open. I used to run a bookstore up here in Flint, and had a guy walk in with a grocery bag full of them and offered them to me for, I don't know, 10 bucks, $100 or whatever. And it was like 3/4 of a grocery, old paper grocery bag full of them. And I'm like, heck yeah. Here you go. I took those babies home and read them. They were great. And I've been a big fan of 2000 AD ever since. There's a lot more English comics. Like I said, because of 2000 AD, which really started because of the need for a boys comic, which really began from everything here is a big linking chain, from the multi-Marvel reprints. Marvel went on to do original UK material, Captain Britain with Alan Davis, some Alan Moore material. Alan Grant worked there for a while. And then Deadline and Toxic sprung out from a lot of the people that did 2000 AD, and that's where Tank Girl comes from. Another great property, Johnny Nemo, who is by Peter Mulligan and Brett Ewings. And there's another great Titan reprint book, hardback, just beautiful looking. If you look at Book Warehouse or on the Book Warehouse site, you might still see this offered. I bought this just a few months back, and it was next to nothing when I picked it up. And it's all great reprints, some black and white, some in color from the magazine. If you look at the art style, you'll see a lot of, I think it's Mulligan's or Ewing that does the art on this. You'll see a lot of Vertigo in the look on it. There's a badam. Anyway, great stuff. We're past an hour and a half, so we need to go. Anything from Titan Comics, anything from Titan reprints. Here's another hardback book.
Simon Beasley cover.
13 coins by some guy named Bisley. Bisley got his start again doing Slain, which is a barbarian strip over at 2000 AD. And he's gone to do work for anybody that can afford him now. And he's got a heck of a reputation. And all throughout there, there's a lot of Captain Britain original comics that are out there that were English. Some of that stuff's been reprinted here in the States.
You can see these guys kind of influenced each other a lot, but still kept on their own style.
Well, I think you saw there was a great like a feed off frenzy because of it's like a early 60s Marvel or a Beatles even timing, where Pat Mills, just like Gaines, went around and found the best talent that he can that was available at the time, and everybody had their own individual look, their own individual style, and they worked off of each other. They tried to outdo each other on a regular basis. Oh, you think that looks cool? I can draw something that looks cooler than that kind of thing. And it just built upon one another. The ideas are amazing. The stories are phenomenal. The artwork is unbelievable. And it's a true travesty that we don't see more reprints here in the States of that material, because a lot of it is just pristine and beautiful. And well, you've seen what we showed you today. There's so many volumes out there available and so much stuff that's being neglected. Rogue Trooper should be a movie. Strontium Dog should be a movie. Robo Hunter, Flesh, all of those characters are all Hollywood worthy and just completely ignored. And that might be the next big wave now that they're bungling superheroes so much. You might see a lot of these 2000 AD properties spring up, or some really imaginative superhero variations, I guess you would say, that comes up.
Well, what it's going to take, what I think it's going to take is, and it's very possible you find some independent filmmaker, decide to get this and start doing that. Like you said, there was some fan stuff.
There are fan films up there of Strontium Dog. I think there's a fan film, or at least maybe even a cartoon up there of Rogue Trooper. If you look, just search it on YouTube. It's bound to pop up. The Strontium Dog one is pretty entertaining. It's pretty close to the comic.
And so hopefully we'll kind of see that kind of thing, rise up to where independent, the doors are swinging wide open. We may see some independent filmmakers tackle the.
You never know.
Yeah,
probably not
crowdfunding. I'm sure that that you can find an audience.
Yeah, Rebellion would have to probably go through and or somebody that gets the rights from Rebellion would have to go through and crowdfund it. I wish they would, because a lot of that stuff deserves to be seen. And once it's out, somebody kicks out a Rogue Trooper movie, everybody's going to want those Rogue Trooper reprints.
Yeah,
because the property is that good. Same thing with Strontium Dog. It's just say all you got to do is get close to the comics. Look at Judge Dredd. All they got to do is if they do another Carl Urban movie or a Mega City 1, that'll open the door for a lot of the Dredd material. And Dredd has been around for so long. It's got its own universe. It's had its own little spin-offs, Judge Anderson, Hell Trekkers, stuff like that are also just so well worth it, that take place in the Dredd universe. So the real thing to do is a large team up with all of them, but that would probably spoil. Everybody's got their own separate world, pretty much, or their own separate corner of the universe. Rogue Trooper is very different from Strontium Dogs, very different from Nemesis, very different from Flesh, but it's all just phenomenal stuff. Great stuff.
It'd be something to do individually and not even act like they were even together at any point in time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But there was a time when you could walk in once every Wednesday and pick up the latest issue of 2000 AD, and the kids over in UK were just, especially the boys over there, were just loving it. Just great stuff.
Yeah.
Unfettered by a comic code authority, a little violent, a little rough, very much on the Warren magazine level, I would think. I mean, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But still, classic stuff, great reading, a lot of fun. Sorry,
we've been black and white blood. It's fine as long as it's.
Yeah. We've been neglecting the chat, and I'm sorry. North Free Allison's in the chat. Just lost. She said she just lost interest. Oh.
No, she was talking about Walking Dead. It was in the discussion.
I know. I'm taking it out.
Okay.
I'm taking it out of context. Yeah. Hey, everyone. North, thanks for being here. Allison, thanks for being here. Don't really mean to ignore you. Just been showing off a bunch of stuff, which we do on this program. North, a lot of discussion. Postmaster Dan, Pastmaster Dan, happy you're here. Thank you so much. Again, North, Indie Comics Network's been in there. That's probably you, right? See? Popping through. Morning, everyone. Allison, North Post, Fazurko's in the house. Thanks for being here. Great show this morning. Levi, always happy to hear from you, buddy. Always. I hope you're doing well. Great show this morning, guys. I've never seen 90% of what you showed off today. More stuff for me to track down. Thanks. Might want to start keeping notes when you're watching the show, because I got a lot of stuff to show off, and I just love. This is the stuff that I love. When I found 2000 AD at the time, I was kind of burned out on superheroes. And when I found this, it reawakened a love that I had for comics. That and Star Wars really did a lot for keeping that love going, for comics in general. You were saying, C?
No, I was saying you can also go back to the archives too and just rewatch it and see. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Always. We're always over on the Indie Comics Network. IndieComicsNetwork.com. Don't be afraid to go over there. Lots of reprint books, lots of strip books. I think the entire run of Modesty Blaze is available in reprint too, and I can't recommend that high enough. And once you read a couple of those stories, you'll understand why. It's just good stuff. The James Bond strip collections are very inexpensive. They're like I don't have it in front of me, but they're only a couple of bucks. I mean, I think they're like $12 for 6 stories. It's unbelievably inexpensive. There it is. Arrgh. And you've got some great stuff. Volume 1 has Casino Royale, Live and Let Die, Moonraker, Diamonds Are Forever, From Russia with Love, Dr. No, Goldfinger, Riziko, From View to a Kill, For Your Eyes Only, and Thunderball, all in comic strip format. And again, just great stuff, very much like the Modesty Blaze material. And that last time I looked, that was available over on Amazon very inexpensively. I should have looked at that, but the early Ian Fleming adaptions don't have any nudity to them. But thank goodness. That was $16.95 for all of that, all those comic strips. Great stuff. Great stuff. Folks, thanks again for watching. Mitch, tell folks how they can find you.
You can find me at Linktree. Well, yeah, over here, Linktree/Celtic Cross Studios. You can find my website, online store, web comics, everything else, socials.
Great. See, tell folks how they can find you. Sorry, I caught you while you were drinking.
Oh, that's all right. Of course, I also have a Linktree, /C Michael Lanning, and of course, right here on the Indie Comics Network, Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern on Dispatches from Outside the Box. And of course, we do Sketchy Saturday, but that's on hiatus until after the first of the year. So,
sorry to hear that.
What's this week's
Christmas
Dispatches?
this week we're talking about Disney afternoons.
Oh, okay.
The Mickey Mouse Club. Yay, spinning Marty.
Okay.
No, you're not even going back that far, are you? I'm an old man. Yeah.
There's so much to when you're dealing with, and we're doing Disney all this December. There's so much to cover. You can't really cover everything that encapsulates Disney, and our wrap up will be called the Dangers of Being Walt Disney, where we'll kind of deal with the man himself a little bit. But there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can touch on. It's just hard to, because we haven't the parks. We kind of touched on the nature films a little bit.
Yeah.
So there's just so much stuff you can do. Yeah, we ended up having to do a whole Disney year, and I'm not dedicating the year to Disney.
Well, it's somebody who just spent 3 freaking episodes on Comics by Night going through one Steranko Artisan book. I can tell you, there's a lot of great stuff out there.
There is
a lot of stuff to talk about. Even more, folks. We're over at the Indie Comics Network, indiecomicsnetwork.com. Go over there and check. I've been your host, Randy Zimmerman. If you want to see some of my stuff, arrowcomics.store. Go over there and take a look. HeroBot 0, 1, and 2 are available. I'm getting copies of HeroBot 2, hopefully this next week. Calico 1, Paragon 1 is available over there. A great taste of Russ Leach, who's normally on this program. His Only Death Can Save Us is still available. Revolt is still available over there for as long as they last. Go over there and take a look. Arrowcomics.store. And there's a lot more stuff coming. Just picked up another book yesterday I can't talk about. But I can tell you it's pretty. He contacted us and said, "Can I be an Arrow comic?" And we're like, okay. Of course you can. Of course you can. But it's going to be fun. We're not announcing anything until they're good to go. And but believe me, it's great. And there's going to be even more great stuff out of Arrow this next year. It's going to be a fun year for us, I think. We'll see how it goes. But in the meantime, folks, take care, everybody. We'll be back next Sunday at 9 a.m. here on the Sunday Funnies. No, we won't. We won't be back here next Sunday because next Sunday is Christmas Day. We want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We won't be back here next Sunday. We'll be back here the following Sunday, New Year's Day, though. We'll talk about some stuff then. And then, of course, there's Comics by Night, Friday mornings at 5 a.m. in the morning, where we're talking. This week, we're going to be talking and analyzing deeply the great sequential artist known as Don Martin. It's going to be a great episode. It's going to be a fun episode. I've got a collection of all the stuff that he did for Mad Magazine, and we're going to flub-adapt that thing to death. It'll be great. Folks, hope you've enjoyed yourself. Thanks so much for being in the chat. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Please, if you enjoyed this program, let folks know. Hit that like button, hit that bell for notifications over at the Indie Comics Network. We appreciate all the subscribers that we can get our hands on. And look for the other great programming here on our channel. So We'll see you soon. And on our way out, we'll run a little disclaimer that I should have run at the front and forgot to, as I always seem to do. And a few bumps, but we'll see you then. Take care, everybody. We'll see you. Any last words? Go visit your retailer. That's another. Go through their magazine boxes. You might actually find some of those Titan reprint books
Hey, there you
sitting
go.
in there, disguised as magazines. If you find them, get them, buy them. Great stuff. Great stuff. We'll see everybody. Take care.
The views and opinions expressed within the video content found on the Indie Comics Network are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Indie Comics Network or its sponsors. Have a question or comment for us to address on the show? Have a topic you want us to talk about? Email us at indiecomicsnetwork@gmail.com. Want your comics to arrive in pristine condition? Head over to GeminiComicSupply.com and save 10% on your next Gemini mailer order or anything in the Gemini Comic Supply store. Use coupon code RAGIN10. That's RAGIN 10.
In the middle of the night or early Friday morning, depending upon where you are in the world, a group of experienced comics professionals get together to examine and instruct about the art form that they love. That's great comic artwork on Comics by Night, Fridays at 5 a.m. Eastern, here on the Indie Comics Network, indiecomicsnetwork.com.
What was that? This is not a charade.
Do you draw the Flintstones naked? There's a market for that.
How dare you! You have stolen my